Hi, and welcome back to U.S. Civics. I'm your host, Kimberly Horosky. As usual, every week we bring you the most up-to-date and most important information regarding U.S. civics, participation in government, U.S. history, and U.S. culture. And as our weekly tradition continues, we are not sponsored by Snapple, but we get to check our Snapple fact to see if we have a cool one this week. And it states that it is illegal to sing off-key in the state of North Carolina. Well, let's hope that if you can't sing well, you do not head to North Carolina and you have your windows open in your car as you're driving down the road. That is actually a true law, unfortunately, so it's kind of funny. As we continue, we're going through the U.S. Constitution to bring you the colloquialism of it, to make sure that you understand the actual raw data and prepare you for the most in-depth information, arming you with the most proper information. Last week we spoke about the executive branch. The week before we spoke about the legislative branch. The last branch of the government is the judicial branch. This is a very small piece of the actual Constitution, and it's not grossly outlined, because I think they wanted to allow precedent to actually determine how this operates rather than just the law being written down exactly as it is. The way it is, though, the Supreme Court, which is the federal high court, is the law of the land. That is that they determine whether or not something is constitutional or not constitutional based upon the law of the land, which is the U.S. Constitution. All other inferior courts are created by Congress and created by the president, that they appoint these judges to inferior courts. If you feel that your case at an inferior court, say at a state level, for instance New York, is unconstitutional or wasn't handled correctly, you have the right to appeal. There's an appellate court in New York. If the appellate court agrees with you, you have the right to go to the appellate court of the federal government, and that is the U.S. Supreme Court. Now, there is actually no guidelines to how or why to choose a particular member to be part of the Supreme Court of the United States. You do not have to be a certain age. You do not have to be a jurist. Furthermore, you don't even need to be a lawyer to be part of the Supreme Court. You actually just need to be somebody who can read the Constitution to determine if something is constitutional. However, precedent has allowed it that jurists generally end up being part of the judicial branch in the Supreme Court. All cases affecting the executive branch, anytime that a member of the executive branch up to and including the president, are all dealt at the Supreme Court level, because that's federal to federal. There is no state to be handling it. All cases must reside in the state that they originated at. So if you're at the base level and you're determining if your case has weight, that the court can determine whether or not it was correct or incorrect what a party did or did not do to you, you must handle that court case at your state. So for instance, I live in the state of New York. If something happened to me, I got into a car accident, and I wanted to make sure that the person who hit me, who did it incorrectly and didn't notice that they hit me or something happened, I wanted to make sure they were held accountable. It would have to happen at New York State level first. And if I felt that the decision was unfair, I could appeal it, and that would be at my state level, and then it would move to the federal level, which is the Supreme Court. All trials in the states must be held where it is actually committed, the crime, because you have the right to see your accuser in the court of law. You have the right to match eyes with the person who accuses you of a crime. For instance, the biggest crime that is covered under Article 3 of the Constitution is treason. When you go against the United States government itself, when you sell out to another nation, or you sympathize with another nation for the sake of your own standing in the United States, treason must come in two forms. You must have two witnesses, or you must have one confession in open court, which means you must have a confession where a person looks you in the eye and says, I know that that person committed treason. I saw it with my own two eyes. Now, that's important because beforehand you were allowed to be tried and you were guilty before you were innocent in other countries. In the United States, you're innocent until proven guilty. Very big difference. As all things with the judicial system, there is not much written in the Constitution, so it leaves it open to precedent and interpretation. And I'd like to thank you, and I should think you should try to subscribe and to like our positions every week and come back for more information regarding the Constitution. Here with In a Flesh Photo Corp Productions on the Long Island studio, and we're here to bring you every week the most up-to-date information regarding U.S. civics. Thank you. Have a great night.